My wife cheated with her boss while I worked double shifts to pay her student loans, so I closed every account and left without saying goodbye. I'm a 31-year-old guy, and I thought marriage meant building something together. Not just sharing bills or a roof, but dreams, the kind that keep you going when everything else falls apart. When I met Lauren, we were broke college students with big ideas and bigger hearts. She wanted to become a therapist and help people find peace. I wanted to start a business that could give us both the freedom we never had growing up. We were inseparable back then. Studying together in cheap coffee shops, laughing at the thought of affording real dates one day. She'd sketch our dream apartment in the margins of her notes, a balcony, plants everywhere, a small library where she'd read her psychology books and I'd work late on my laptop. It wasn't about luxury. It was about building something side by side. I still remember our first tiny apartment after graduation. The walls were thin, the sink leaked, and the heater made this awful clunking sound at night. But I loved it. Every corner felt like proof that we were moving forward. I'd come home from my night shifts, exhausted but proud, to find her asleep over her textbooks. Sometimes I'd gently lift her glasses off and whisper, "You're gonna make it, babe." And she'd mumble half asleep, "Only because of you." Those words mattered. They made the grind worth it. I didn't mind working extra hours, skipping nights out, or watching my friends get ahead while I paid rent and tuition. I believed it was our investment, our shared future. But now, looking back, I realized something painful. I was the only one who believed we were building together. And the first cracks in that illusion started small. Ones I didn't even see coming. When Lauren graduated, I felt this rush of pride, like all those sleepless nights and double shifts finally meant something. She cried during the ceremony, hugged me, and whispered, "We did it." And for a while, I believed that we truly did. But right after graduation, she told me she wanted to get her master's degree. "It's the next step," she said. "It'll open doors for both of us." So I doubled down. Literally, I picked up overtime at the warehouse and took weekends. Deliveries just to cover her tuition and our rent. I told myself it was temporary, that soon she'd be the one helping to shoulder the weight. Every morning I'd leave before sunrise, passing her still asleep in our bed, surrounded by notes and empty coffee cups. She looked peaceful. I'd kiss her forehead and whisper, "You're doing great, babe." But as the months passed, something changed. The warmth between us started to fade, not overnight, but in tiny, invisible ways. She stopped waiting up for me. The thank yous turned into silence. When I'd get home late, sweaty and bone-tired, she'd just glance up from her laptop and say, "You should shower. You smell like oil." I brushed it off, telling myself stress was getting to her. After all, she was studying hard, chasing something important. Still, the distance grew. I'd sit across from her at dinner, watching her scroll through her phone, nodding absent-mindedly while I talked about work. I started eating faster just to escape the silence. One night, I came home early, a canceled shift. I thought I'd surprise her with takeout and a movie. But when I walked in, she jumped, slammed her laptop shut, and muttered, "You scared me?" Something about her tone felt off, too sharp, too defensive. I didn't know it then, but that moment was the start of everything unraveling. A few months later, Lauren finally landed a position at a small counseling office. I was genuinely thrilled for her. After all the years of sacrifice, it finally felt like we were both stepping into the life we dreamed of. She came home glowing after her first week, talking nonstop about the clinic, her coworkers, and especially about one name, Ethan. "He's amazing," she said that first night, stirring her tea absent-mindedly. "He's been mentoring me. Says I've got real potential." I smiled and told her I was proud. Back then, I had no reason to doubt her. Ethan was just another name in her stories, the supportive boss helping her grow. But slowly, His name started showing up in almost every conversation. Ethan. Said I should charge more for sessions. Ethan. Thinks I should take that online. Course, Ethan's planning a team dinner this weekend. I laughed it off, teasing her once. Sounds like Ethan's your second husband. She rolled her eyes. But her laugh felt forced, tight. Soon, those team dinners became late nights. She'd come home around midnight, smelling of wine and perfume. It was just networking, she'd say. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But she started guarding her phone, tilting the screen away when I walked by. When I brought it up one night, she sighed and said, "You're being paranoid. Not everything's about you, you know." Her tone stung. It wasn't just defensive, it was dismissive. Like my exhaustion, my support, my worries were annoyances she had to tolerate. Still, I kept telling myself she deserved her space. After everything I'd done for her, she'd never betrayed that trust. Right, but the seed of doubt had already been planted. And soon it would grow into something I couldn't ignore. The next few months felt like living with a stranger, who occasionally remembered she was married to me. Lauren was present, but not there. She'd sit beside me on the couch, scrolling through her phone, smiling at texts she wouldn't show me. When I'd ask what was funny, she'd shrug and say, "Just work stuff." The warmth we once had, the teasing, the inside jokes, had evaporated. Meanwhile, I was drowning in work. Double shifts became routine, my back constantly sore, my mind running on fumes. Every cent I made went toward her student loans, our rent, and her professional expenses. I didn't complain because I thought I was helping us reach the next chapter. But she stopped saying thank you. Stopped even noticing. One Friday night, I came home early, something I rarely got to do. I bought her favorite takeout, that Thai place she used to love, thinking we could finally have dinner together like we used to. The apartment was dim, just a single lamp glowing near the couch. I called out, "Lauren." No answer. When I walked into the living room, she was sitting there, laughing softly into her phone. "You're so bad," she whispered, her voice playful, almost flirty. Then she froze when she saw me standing there. The smile vanished. The silence that followed felt like glass shattering in my chest. She snapped her phone shut and muttered, "You scared me. You can't just sneak up like that." "I called your name twice," I said quietly. "Who were you talking to?" "Just a client," she answered too fast. Brushing past me toward the kitchen, the food went cold on the counter while I sat there, staring at the closed door of the bedroom, trying to convince myself that what I felt wasn't real, that the woman I loved wasn't slipping away into someone else's arms. But deep down, something told me I was already losing her. I just didn't know how badly yet. After that night, I tried to convince myself I was overreacting. I told myself she was just tired. That work was overwhelming. But the uneasy feeling wouldn't go away. She became even more secretive, ways turning her phone face down, changing her passcode, stepping outside to take client calls. It felt like living with a ghost who occasionally borrowed my wife's face. One evening, a coworker of mine mentioned something in passing. "Hey, I think I saw your wife the other night. She was at that Italian place downtown, right?" I almost said hi. My stomach dropped. Lauren had told me she was at a client meeting that night 3 cities away. I smiled tightly and said, "Yeah, must have been someone else." But my hands shook for the rest of the shift. That weekend, she said she had a work retreat. I wanted to trust her. So I helped pack her bag, even kissed her forehead goodbye. But as soon as she left, I sat in the car, staring at the steering wheel, until my gut finally screamed louder than my denial. I opened our shared credit card account on my phone and froze. There it was. Hotel charges under Ethan's name. Same city. Same weekend. When she came back 2 days later, she walked through the door smiling, talking about how productive the retreat was. I just watched her, numb, every word sounding like static. "You okay?" she asked, feigning concern. I managed a weak nod. That night, while she slept peacefully beside me, I stared at the ceiling for hours, replaying every moment of our marriage, every sacrifice, every shift, every lie she'd built on top of my trust. And in that darkness, one thought started echoing in my head. If she could lie this easily, what else was she hiding? A few days later, I came home early from work, bone-tired, drenched in sweat, desperate for a shower and some quiet. Lauren wasn't home yet, but her laptop sat open on the coffee table. A notification pinged, echoing through the empty apartment. I shouldn't have looked, but my instincts overpowered my restraint. The message preview was short. "Last night was perfect. Can't wait to see you again, babe." My chest tightened. My pulse roared in my ears. I sat down slowly, staring at the screen as another message appeared. "Delete this before he sees it. You're too careless." My hands trembled as I clicked the chat. What I saw made me sick. Months' worth of messages, photos, private jokes, heart emojis. Long conversations that read like a relationship, not an affair. They talked about me, mocking me, calling me the sponsor, saying things like, "He's too nice to ever suspect a thing." Then I found the voice note. I hesitated, then pressed play. Her voice filled the room, soft and confident. "He's such a good guy, Ethan. I almost feel bad using him. But he'd never understand us." I froze. Every cell in my body went cold. My vision blurred as that word "use" echoed through my head. I didn't rage. I didn't scream. I just sat there, the sound of her voice looping in my mind. Every sacrifice, every double shift, every night I came home too tired to speak, it all hit me at once. When Lauren came home that night, smiling like nothing had changed, I didn't confront her. I just watched her walk past me, humming softly, completely unaware that I now knew everything. That was the moment I decided. She'd never get the satisfaction of seeing me break. For the first time in our marriage, I stopped trying. I stopped asking where she was, stopped checking her phone, stopped caring about the lies she told. On the outside, I looked calm, robotic even, but inside, something had snapped. I'd spent years breaking my back to build a life for us, and she'd spent that same time tearing it down behind my back. That week, I skipped one of my shifts for the first time in years. I drove to a nearby lake and just sat there in silence, staring at the water. My hands were rough, cracked from years of work, and for the first time, I saw what they'd really built, not a partnership, but a prison I funded myself. The kind of love that drains you until there's nothing left to give. When I finally went home that night, she barely looked up from her phone. "Rough day?" she asked casually. I just said, "Yeah." She didn't notice the emptiness in my voice. She didn't care. She smiled at whatever she was reading and said, "You should get some sleep." So I did. I went to bed beside her, listening to her type quietly under the covers. My chest burned, but my mind was oddly still. I realized I didn't need to confront her to win. She thrived on control, on watching me chase her, doubt myself, try to fix what she broke. The best revenge wouldn't be screaming or crying. It would be silence. That night, I made a decision I'd never imagined I'd make. I was done being her safety net. I'd already lost her. Now I was going to make sure she lost me too. And for the first time in months, I actually slept the next morning. I woke up before dawn, staring at the ceiling, feeling a strange calm settle over me. The pain hadn't disappeared. It had just solidified, turned into something sharp and deliberate. I decided I wasn't going to confront her, cry, or beg. I was going to disappear completely and make sure she felt the loss in every corner of her carefully constructed life. Over the next few weeks, I began to plan quietly. Every night after she fell asleep, I'd sit in the living room, pretending to scroll my phone while I moved money into a new account she didn't know about. I called my employer and asked them to reroute my direct deposits. I started collecting every document that had my name on it: leases, insurance, bills, slowly removing myself from anything tied to her. During the day, I stayed normal. I laughed when she made small talk. I helped with groceries. I even cooked dinner once in a while, just to keep up appearances. She never noticed the shift. She was too busy texting clients. Late at night or coming home smelling like cologne that wasn't mine, I changed my phone number on my job applications, switched to paperless statements, and quietly rented a small apartment across town. One room, bare walls. Just peace. One night, she came home drunk after another team event, kicked off her heels, and mumbled, "You're such a good husband. You know that?" I just smiled. If only she knew how right she was for the last time. Every move I made was careful, deliberate. I wasn't planning to hurt her. I was planning to erase myself from her world so completely that she'd have to face the one thing she'd been running from all along: her own emptiness, and soon she'd wake up to a silence she couldn't fix. The night before everything ended, I came home to find her on the phone, laughing, whispering, her voice soft in that tone she used to save for me. I stood in the doorway, just listening. When she hung up, I asked quietly, "Ethan?" She froze for a second, then scoffed. "You're unbelievable." It was my mom. Her eyes were full of disgust, not guilt. That was when I knew there was nothing left to save. Later, while she showered, her phone buzzed on the counter. I didn't mean to look, but curiosity burned stronger than pride. Another message from Ethan. "Can't wait until he's out of the picture. You deserve better." And then hers. "Soon he's too stupid to notice anyway." I set the phone down, walked to the mirror, and just stared at myself. My eyes looked empty. My hands, the same ones that built her future, were shaking. I'd hit my limit. Not just because she cheated, but because she made me believe I was worthless for caring. That night, I sat in the dark, surrounded by the home I paid for, listening to the woman I loved hum in the shower, completely oblivious to how close I was to disappearing. My mind drifted through every version of myself I'd been for her: the provider, the supporter, the fool. When she came to bed, she kissed my shoulder half-heartedly and whispered, "Good night." I didn't answer. I couldn't, because right then, I wasn't her husband anymore. I was a ghost waiting for dawn, and as I stared at the ceiling, I realized something. The lowest point isn't when someone betrays you. It's when you finally accept that they were never who you thought they were. Tomorrow, she'd wake up, and I wouldn't be there. Morning came quiet and gray, the kind of morning where even the sun seems hesitant to show up. Lauren was still asleep, curled up on her side, her phone clutched loosely in her hand. I stood there for a moment, just looking at her. The woman I once thought I'd grow old with. The woman who'd turned my love into leverage. I didn't say a word. I didn't write a note. I simply moved. I packed my bag, the essentials, only documents, a few clothes, my tools, and the photo of my late father that I kept on the nightstand. I left her engagement ring on the kitchen counter right beside her half-drunk glass of wine from last night. Somehow, it felt symbolic, a promise she'd wasted, left unfinished. Before walking out, I unplugged the Wi-Fi router, closed every shared bank account, and withdrew what was left of my savings, every penny I'd earned. She'd already taken years from me. She wasn't getting a cent more. When I finally stepped outside, the air hit cold and sharp, like the world was cleansing itself of her presence. I got in my car, started the engine, and just sat there for a minute, staring at the front door. There was no anger, no tears, just this heavy, eerie calm. As I drove away, my phone buzzed. A text from her. "Hey, can you pick up groceries after work?" I let it sit unread. Then I turned off the phone completely. By the time she woke up, the apartment would be quiet. The accounts empty. The phone number disconnected. She'd open her eyes to a life she'd built on lies and realize the foundation was gone. And for once, I didn't feel guilt. I felt free. I didn't look back. Not once. I drove straight to the small one-bedroom apartment I'd rented across town, bare walls. No furniture except a mattress and an old desk. It felt empty, but in the best way possible. No lies, no tension, no pretending. I spent that first night sleeping on the floor, the silence so complete it almost scared me. But when I woke up the next morning, I felt something I hadn't in years. Peace, meanwhile. Chaos was brewing in the life I'd left behind. My phone stayed off, but I checked my email a few days later out of habit. Dozens of unread messages from Lauren. The subject lines alone said enough. "Where are you? This isn't funny. You can't just leave like that." And finally, "Please, just talk to me." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. The silence was louder than anything I could say. Then mutual friends started reaching out. "Hey man, you okay?" "Lauren's freaking out." Another one messaged, "Guess she got dumped by that boss guy." Long story. Apparently, Ethan had dumped her the moment he realized she didn't have access to the money anymore. The clinic found out about their affair after one of her coworkers reported them, and she was asked to resign. The world she built on manipulation collapsed overnight. I should have felt vindicated. Maybe I did, a little. But mostly, I felt done. Like I'd finally set down a weight I'd been carrying for years. I started new routines, early mornings, long walks, home-cooked meals for one. Every day, the silence stopped feeling empty and started feeling like healing. Lauren kept reaching out emails, letters, even a voicemail where she cried and said, "I made a mistake, but mistakes can be forgiven. Patterns can't, and the woman I loved wasn't someone who made a mistake. She was someone who chose convenience over love." Every single time, it's been 6 months since I walked out of that apartment, and not a day goes by that I don't thank myself for leaving in silence. I built a new rhythm. Wake up early, cook breakfast, watch the sun creep through my blinds. No more late-night arguments. No more walking on eggshells. Just quiet. Honest quiet. Lauren still tries to contact me every few weeks. A new number, a different email, even a handwritten letter once. The tone always changes, sometimes apologetic, sometimes desperate, sometimes furious. The last one said, "You destroyed my life without even saying goodbye." I read it once and tossed it into the trash. Because the truth is, I didn't destroy her life. She did that herself, one lie, one betrayal, one manipulation at a time. All I did was stop letting her use me as her safety net. Sometimes I think about what I'd say if I ever saw her again. Maybe something poetic, like, "You taught me what love isn't." Or maybe nothing at all. Because silence has become my loudest answer. It's the language of peace and punishment. One evening, as I walked home from work, I passed a cafe and caught a glimpse of a couple laughing together. She looked at him the way Lauren used to look at me, back when everything was real. For a second, I felt that old ache rise up. But it faded just as quickly. That's when I realized the real closure wasn't her apology. It wasn't revenge or karma. It was me learning to stop needing her to understand the damage she caused. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't a confrontation. It's moving on so quietly that the person who broke you spends the rest of their life wondering how you rebuilt without them. Some people deserve the silence they left you with. And for the first time in years, I finally felt free.